Welcome to drop number 2 with the balance on a Saturday. Hope you've had a chance to listen to our NFL segment preseason. We broke down the NFL with Ed Kratz, beat writer for the Philadelphia Eagles and SI.com, and our official NFL contributor. Tracking the Colts right now. They're down 34-6 at home against Atlanta. Of course, we're tracking to see how Riley Leonard does. Ironically enough, that QB2 position is still up for grabs. So we don't know if it's going to be Riley Leonard or Anthony Richardson. So it's an interesting twist of events that's happened with that. So we're talking a lot about that. We're certainly what's going on around the league in the NFL. But now it's time to switch gears, if you will, no pun intended, to INDYCAR. INDYCAR is out in Washington, D.C., and I'm so excited to talk about this. We found out about this race last year. Everybody circled it, and really an exciting time for to help celebrate the 250th anniversary of the United States. Put all your politics aside, but this is going to be exciting. In the nation's capital. But joining us now, Derek Vance at the Push Pass Podcast joins us, our official INDYCAR contributor. Let's break down Freedom 250, sir. How is you?
Tom, again, as always, huge thank you for allowing me each and every week, it seems like, to join your fabulous podcast / show that you have going on here. But yes, the NTT INDYCAR series rolls into our nation's capital for the Freedom GP of Washington, D.C. 250. As we noted right before we came on, obviously first practice was this morning. I haven't had an opportunity to check it out yet. I've been away from the studio. I can't wait to catch the highlights of that. Kind of very curious to see what the INDYCAR looks like going around not only our nation's capital, but our national monuments as well.
Yeah, man, I tell you what, I mean, what does this unprecedented event mean to the series? It's kind of hard to top this because they're not coming back to there. But you wonder, is this INDYCAR's biggest showcase outside of the Indianapolis 500?
Yeah, it's very interesting. Very interesting race, very interesting dynamic, how it all came together. And yeah, this has to be, and I'm going to agree with you, right outside of the Indianapolis 500, maybe the second or third marquee event on the NTT INDYCAR series. Hopefully it's not just a one-year thing, and it very well could be. But hell, this even tops NASCAR. NASCAR, to my knowledge, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think they've ever been or raced around the nation's capital. So this is definitely a prestigious event, to say the least.
It's the first time it's ever happened at all. I mean, I think back in the 1800s we had a horse race, but it's the first time there's ever been any type of racing in the nation's capital. So pretty exciting. And you wonder, hey, can this sport can this introduce the sport to an entirely new audience? And a lot of people were talking about, okay, what goes into the funding. Penske, just so we put that out there, Penske, which owns INDYCAR, has tethered most, about 85 to 90% of the cost. And the U.S. celebration 250th celebration budget paid for the extra security. So I think everything, of course, you've got Secret Service, Park Service, and of course, the DC, and they were talking about all the different layers of security that they had to put together. Obviously, this is a big complex behind the scene event. So we'll see what happens. I believe it's 7 turns over 1.7 miles, might be 9 turns, but I'm in the ballpark there. Counterclockwise direction featuring 6 turns and 1 right. 147 laps for the official distance of 249.9, just shy of 250 miles. And here's what I think is really exciting. What I'm going to look forward to watching, especially in race mode, is cars racing along Pennsylvania Avenue, Constitution and Independence Avenue, passing the U.S. Capitol, Washington Monument, Smithsonian, all providing a great backdrop of the racing. So let's talk about the race itself. Well, what are your thoughts? How are teams preparing for the street? Not only for a street course, but one that they've never raced on. They don't have any historical data to race on. And you've got to imagine it's going to be kind of bumpy and, a lot of changing of pavements and limited grip. So what do you think the crew chiefs and engineers have really honed in on this track?
Yeah, definitely. It is going to be a crapshoot, just as you alluded to, because obviously outside of the simulator time that the drivers have gotten. No one else has actually been physically on this course. So, like I said, that's why I'm kind of curious to see how first practice went and what are some of the adjustments that the teams made between first practice and then second practice, and obviously qualifying and then going into the race tomorrow. But Tom, you kind of put it on a tee for me. You said the last time that there was a race in the nation's capital was in the 1800s. If I go back through your archives, am I going to find that you actually covered that race?
Probably. It was a rookie year. You're absolutely right. I think we probably were live there. I don't know. We weren't able to stream, so you're absolutely right. So let's say, we don't have the data to go with this. So, the next best thing is the simulator. But even at that, you got to have the data to put into the simulator for the sims to do that. I guess, do we anticipate? I would think that we might anticipate a higher caution level, at least in the first few laps. Hopefully, they've got a lot of those kinks worked out in practice, and we'll see what happens in qualifying. But as a team, crew chief, and as a driver, what are some of the things that you'd be looking for to give us some warning signs, whether it would be fatigue or fuel mileage? See, there you go, fuel mileage, or just outright speed.
Yeah, again, with very little data to go off of and to break down. I think that's why these practices are going to be highly crucial for both the engineers and the drivers, obviously, because like we said, outside of the simulation data, and how different that can be from a sim to an actual on-track activity, the data that's going to be coming back from first practice is going to be highly crucial, again, to see how see what adjustments are going to be made between now and qualifying in the race. So there's got to be a lot of hardworking engineers back in the haulers going over data and crunching numbers for the upcoming second practice and qualifying.
And this is going to be just kind of an exciting, different race. Reed Wiseman, of course, NASA astronaut, and he was the Artemis 2 commander. He is going to lead the fastest seat in the Freedom 250, and he served as the commander in NASA's Artemis 2 mission that captivated the world in April 26th. I know we talked about it a lot here on the show. We'll ride in the fastest seat in sports in the Freedom 250, the Grand Prix of Washington. Donald Trump is to wave the green flag. The Secretary of Transportation is going to wave the checkered flag. So this is a lot of unique type of stuff. And what was the last time? Well, I'm going to say never has there been a sitting president to wave a green flag at an IndyCar race.
Yeah, I don't recall. And again, you've been doing this a lot longer than I have, Tom. But to the short knowledge of my own, I don't recall a sitting president ever waving the green flag for an IndyCar race. But I do remember a few years back, the sitting president took a lap around the Daytona 500. So that's the closest that I can recall to a sitting president at an auto race.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, IndyCar is no stranger, especially the Indy 500, to presidents visiting. And of course, Mike Pence visited it a couple of times, and there was when Donald Trump first got elected, he took a lap around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, or maybe it was Pence. Yeah, and how exciting is that? But also, we had some other exciting news that I want to make sure that it doesn't slip through the cracks here before we get into some of these teams. IndyCar to introduce an updated Shell 100% renewable fuel race fuel in 2027. Interesting thing here, Derek, as everybody knows, even though we're nationwide, we're based here in Indianapolis, in the west suburbs of Indianapolis, high atop the Balance Studios. But a lot of about 80% to 90% of this renewable fuel comes from the state of Indiana. So IndyCar announced this. They announced it a couple days ago that an updated formulation of Shell's 100% renewable race fuel will be introduced in 2027 NTT IndyCar Series season. The new fuel announced during a ceremony in Washington, D.C. So how exciting is that, especially for all of those people who are so worried about what racing does to the environment?
Yeah, definitely a lot of new technology obviously is being established in INDYCAR. Like you said, the new fuel for 2027. And then we, a couple weeks ago, we had the announcement of the new car in 2028. So definitely the NTT INDYCAR series is bettering the technology that's already there between the fuel and the car, and obviously trying to take care of and do their part to take care of the environment going forward as well.
Yeah, and it's an ethanol feedstock, and that's about as far as the scientific version of it that I can bring you or understand of it. But it looks like it's going to be good for the race, good for the series. Let's kind of just go through some drivers here, and we're kind of in no particular order here as we have not qualified. We've just seen them in practice and so forth. But let's just start with Mike. I wanted to call him Mick Schumacher. On IndyCar in his future. He knows where he wants to be. He knows where he's going to be. Mick Schumacher with IndyCar. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely impressed with the second half of the year that he has had. I could make the case that he is the best driver at the Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan as the season slowly starts to wind down. So yeah, definitely love the things Mick's doing. I don't know if that's going to be enough for him to find a ride, particularly with Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan next year. That sounds like that charter was sold to, it was sold to the Dreyer and Reinbold group. Now, like I said, no official number has been taken away from Ray Hall Letterman Lanigan Racing, but it sounds like all signs point to that number 47 machine being taken away next year.
All right, we're just going to kind of randomly hot seat drivers as we go through and just kind of talk about what we look for and who we're looking at. And we are not going to take these in any particular order, but why not start with Alex Palou to be a force to reckon with in DC and IndyCar practice. He's certainly been fast in practice. Nothing new there for us to see. But Alex Palou, what are your thoughts?
I mean, how can you count the defending champion of 3 times or 2 times rather out 4 of the last 5? How can you can't count him out? So he's definitely going to be a force. And then I believe, and again, take what happened just last weekend at the inaugural race last weekend, and it escapes my mind what it is. In Markham last weekend, Markham, Ontario. First year for that event, and who wins it? Marcus Ericsson. Well, if you remember back, first year that they raced around the city of Nashville, who won that? Marcus Ericsson. So I would not be surprised if Marcus Ericsson doesn't have something to say when this race is all said and done tomorrow.
What do you think about Kyle Kirkwood? Kyle Kirkwood has been very fast in practice, probably one of the fastest, especially in the first practice. Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle definitely searching for a win. He's got to get one to try to stay in the points race, which is slowly starting to run away from him along with David Malukas. But yes, Kyle Kirkwood with the Andretti equipment that he has. Andretti is always a force on the street and road courses, so definitely wouldn't count out Kyle Kirkwood as well.
Yeah, we got a rookie to talk about. We haven't had a chance to talk about many rookies this year. But, one of the rookies that's certainly doing well in practice is Dennis Hagar. What are your thoughts about him?
Yeah, the rookie from Dale Coyne Racing, definitely impressive. Had a great race. I think it was last weekend or 2 weekends ago. It escapes me right now. But, yeah, definitely could be a factor. But, obviously it's tough with him not having the equipment to match up, so to say, with the other big boys, Andretti and Chip Ganassi. But yeah, Hauger could have depending on how the strategy falls, he could be right there as well.
Josef Newgarden, obviously former former Indy 500 winner himself, does well on road courses. I don't know that he's one of the masters of the street courses, if you will, but certainly a very experienced driver, Josef Newgarden.
Yeah, definitely experienced, but I'm not sure if experience is going to come in.
Exactly, it
here,
doesn't.
Obviously, with being a new course, but Josef, does have a few wins under his belt, but he's been on the struggle bus, as the kids say, this year. So probably tough for Josef to get a win tomorrow.
Let's go ahead and talk about Kiffin Simpson. Haven't had a chance to really talk much about him, but what are your thoughts about him on the street course?
Kiffin obviously has improved as the years went on. I mean, how can you not improve having a teammate like Alex Palou and the knowledge that he brings? Um, Kiffin is trying to search for podiums, trying to put a nice finish on the season together. And again, anything can happen. He has Chip Ganassi equipment, so that's better than most. So definitely like his chances.
Scott Dixon, the Iceman. What are your thoughts?
Tough season for him as well, as he's trying to end his illustrious career at Chip Ganassi as he starts a new chapter in his career next year at Arrow McLaren. Dixon, again, he's been on the struggle bus as well, so it'll be interesting to see if he can get off the schneid.
Speaking of struggle buses, willpower. And willpower historically does well on road courses. Again, we don't really have a lot to go with on this particular race just because we have no data. We've never raced there before. But willpower, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, he picked up a podium last weekend in Markham, so it's got to be a huge boost for him. I thought he would do better. I really did. With the history that the Andretti program has on street and road courses, particularly, I thought that Will would have a lot more success than he has. But I didn't factor in that he's switching teams, and when was the last time Will Power drove a Honda? So that's got to be quite a learning curve for him, and which he slowly is getting to. As like I said, picking up a podium last week, so going to be interesting to see after this first year with Honda and Andretti how Will Power adapts.
What about Alexander Rossi? What do you think's about him?
What's wrong with Alexander Rossi? I think it's the whole program over at Ed Carpenter. If there's any team that is struggling mightily, it's got to be the Ed Carpenter program. You've got a few races this year where you couldn't have a driver finish because the engine just gave out, and I don't know if that's a Chevy issue or if that's an Ed Carpenter issue. But both Ed Carpenter and Christian Rasmussen, not Ed Carpenter, but Alexander Rossi and Christian Rasmussen have both struggled mightily this season.
And, we're talking about another rookie, Nolan Siegel. He turns out he turned heads, finishing fourth fastest in the final practice, outpacing his more than seasoned Arrow McLaren teammates. So Nolan Siegel, if you're Arrow McLaren, you got to be happy with what you got with him.
Yeah, definitely. He's trying to close out the season and try to make a case for having a seat in 2027, obviously, because Arrow McLaren is going in a totally different direction, and that's not the direction Nolan Siegel's going. Got to give it to him last week. He led some laps, kept his nose clean, kept his car out front. So Nolan, like I said, he's just trying to put some good racing on tape and on display for owners going into 2027.
Always the bridesmaid, if you will, and never the bride. And David Malukas, certainly he was very impressive in showing some fast speed in practice. But David Malukas,
yeah, a guy that's searching for a win, and that could be a career-defining win for that is David Malukas. Like you said, playing the bridesmaid so many times in his young career. Obviously, he has taken off since moving to Team Penske. And again, he is still searching for that first win, and I'm still going to stick to it. That I think when IndyCar goes to Milwaukee in a few weeks, I think that's where David Malukas finally takes off the bridesmaid's cap and is actually the bride himself.
That'll be interesting to see. So let's just kind of go back through some of these teams that we haven't quite touched on yet. Especially when it comes to sleepers. Let's talk about Scott McLaughlin. He is in the number 3 PPG Team Penske Chevrolet. Can never rule out Penske, period. But Scott McLaughlin, and he owns 3 top 8 finishes in the 5 street races this season, and 5 top 8 finishes in the last 6 races. He has scored the 6th most street course points in 2026. He makes his 100th career series start on Sunday in DC.
Yeah, again, somebody else that's searching for a win, Scott McLaughlin. It seems like that whole Penske program is searching for wins as the season rolls down. Scott, a good road course racer. And again, we just don't have a lot of experience, obviously, on this course. So it's going to be a strategy, and Penske has the best and brightest minds for that. So you can see that take place on Sunday.
Let's talk about Christian Lundgaard, another Arrow McLaren driver in the number 7.
Yeah, Christian again had a great race last weekend in Markham, and he's got the most wins for Arrow McLaren by far in 2026. Again, he's in the same position that Nolan Siegel is in right now. He's going to be looking for a new seat in 2027 with Arrow McLaren going a different direction. So Christian trying to put good tape on out there is what the NFL rookies that may not make the 53-man roster and they may catch on somewhere else. They're just trying to put good tape on there. So a GM or owner will want to pick him up. Hello? 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 You're free on Radio Live. Search Classic Rock Live and we can preset that. Hello? Hello?